Mock scrapes are a very valuable tool for your hunting strategy. Not only do they allow you to get trail cam photos and stuff of the deer, but it also gives the deer a reason to keep circling back around and checking out your scrapes. So what we're going to do today is we're going to freshen up our scrapes. It's late August. We're not going to use our drippers yet, and I'll explain why in a little bit. But we're just going to touch the scrapes up, keep them going. We've had them going for about a month now. We usually go in about July, maybe late June, put ours in. We have a line of scrapes that we're going to be putting through here. We have 3 of them, and I'm going to add 1 more where we have a little bit of a gap, I feel. So let me turn the camera around here, show you the first one, and kind of explain the layout of the land and what we're doing here, and then we'll get into the actual touching up of the scrape. So check it out. Okay, so we're on the back side of the one property that we hunt here, and as you can see, it's agriculture on the left and woods on the right, and we have our road that goes through. This property is rectangular, and I'm in basically the back right hand corner, and it would flow forward to the regular township road. So what we're going to do is, our first scrape is right over here, and we put it right here in this corner because this hillside goes down to a creek, which is a heavy bedding area, and then there's also a stream that runs through here, which is a bedding area. And then these woods right here are what would be your traditional transition woods for whitetails. They would come up from the bedding area, stage till dark or close to dark, and then head out into the agriculture and everything. So our first scrape is right here. And you can see it's getting a little bit grown up from the last time I touched it. And if we take a look up inside, there's our tank stripper. And I got my little rope wicks, which I'll show you all about that too. And just to point out for this particular scrape, straight down in here about 70 yards is my one tree stand. So I like to put myself in between the bedding and the food, but when the rut starts to kick up, you never know where a buck might come from, and maybe this scrape right here will get his attention in the daylight, and he'll stop and be like, oh, I wonder if there's anybody down in there. So it doesn't always work that way, but it's a good tactic to try. And then obviously we have a trail camera here. We have it pointed out into the corn right now because we think we got a bear doing damage to the corn, but we'll swing it back around to the scrape when it gets closer to October. And like I mentioned, we start these in June, and then right now what we're going to do is get this thing freshened up. So let me get the camera set and show you what we're going to do. One of the most important things when you're working on a mock scrape is to try to keep your scent to a minimum. So what I recommend is rubber hunting boots, scent elimination spray, latex gloves, rubber gloves. Spray those too. Keep as much of your human scent off of the stuff as possible because the deer are going to basically have their face in it. And if you leave your scent there, they might not be as interested as if you don't. To freshen the scrape up, the easiest thing we're going to start with is raking the ground away. Getting it all torn up, just like a deer would if it put its hoofs into it. Get the leaves clear, get the ground bare, get it nice and clean. Now, at this time in August, I don't put anything in my dripper yet. I save the drippers for October, mid-October, heading towards the rut. But what I will do is I will place a tiny little bit of a Tinks mock scrape right in the center of the scrape after I raked it. I kind of want any local deer that are using this area right now as summer to fall transition habitat to be like, somebody else was by here, but maybe it was a week ago. But it keeps their interest. They're going to keep coming back and checking it out. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to use these little rope wicks that I hung, and you can also use the string from your scrape dripper. I like to put just a tiny little bit of Smoky's glandulor on there. When a deer works a scrape, it'll work its face and horns and everything up through the licking branches, and it leaves a scent from that, and this stuff replicates that. It makes it way more realistic than just having the ground raked up and a little bit of pee in it. Okay, so we got our first scrape freshened up. We're gonna head on down this road, right up around the corner to that corner tree line. We got another established scrape with a ground blind next to it. The deer love to hit that one, especially the does. Does are in there all the time, but we always have a good buck on that one too, every year. So hop in the Ranger, head up there, freshen that one up. Then we'll put the new one in, and then we'll hit our last stop on the other end of the wood line. All right, we're at scrape number 2, and as you can see, there's our ground blind right there. I'm practically standing on the scrape. Here's one of the little rope wicks. Let's get this one freshened up and then move on to the one we want to put in. This second scrape doesn't have a dripper in it yet, but that's okay. We can add it in later. We're not going to use it till mid-October. All we're going to do right now, put a little bit on these wicks. Well, turns out we got a tree down. Guess we'll have to get up here and cut it up. That's alright. It's not that far from where I want to put the next scrape right here before this bank breaks down over. And then it goes down to the bottom where we have a little food plot, another tree stand, and another scrape. Okay, we're at the new scrape. As you can see, there's where we stopped from the tree being down. It's got the ground started. I got a couple of these little branches turned down. I took the leaves off to act like a licking branch. I'm going to hang one wick in this one. Again, no dripper. I got to go buy some. We'll add that in later. And this will be our third scrape in our scrape line. Working our way from that corner of the property all the way down around to where the woods ends, and it all just goes to agriculture. And like I said, when we go to the last one, I got a little food plot, another scrape, stand. So the whole purpose of this is to use a deer's natural want to be a creature of the edge, but to pull them up out of the woods and get them up on the edge, then hopefully get them in the daylight working these scrapes come archery season, come the rut, and have an opportunity to take a nice deer. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. No fancy knots or anything. A little drop of the Smokies pre-orbital gland lure. And from here we'll just kind of let nature take its course till we get into October. Then we'll add our dripper. Make sure these things are nice and scraped up, and then we'll really be cooking. Let's head on down to the last scrape. Thank you for watching our video on how to make a mock scrape line. We really do hope that you enjoyed it and that you learned something from it. Remember, always check your local and state regulations before you do anything like this. Aside from that though, just be safe and happy hunting.